Welcome into another review of the Oval. I took my notes this time, so thankfully I'll be able to review everything, all of the scenes, without trying to think about what happened. Um, so we start out with Jason choking Maud, and I guess he killed her because she's still and she's cold and all that. He's telling the flight attendant, "My grandmother's cold," and she's like, "Okay, I'll bring her a blanket." And he starts asking about the emergency instructions. Didn't you say if there was an emergency, I just had to open this door? And she's like, "Well, safety is our top priority and all that. You don't have to worry about that." And clearly, we know Jason is thinking about doing something crazy or something else crazy because he's already killed two people, but somehow I think Maud survived and she's just unconscious because I think she's too crazy to go out like that. Um, so Hunter is angry that Max is not dead. Um, he's furious at Donald for not making that happen. He wants this whole mess to go away. Um, Kyle swears that he killed Max. Well, I had the armor piercing bullets. He should have been dead. And so Donald sends him out of there. He sends Kyle out of there to go to the hospital and kill Max. And this next part I didn't understand. Donald was pouring drinks for Hunter like he was the butler or the servant or something. He's like, "What do you want?" Um, Vodka or bourbon? Hunter's like, "Both." I'm like, "You're not the servant, Donald. Why are you?" Never mind. So, over at Richard and Nancy's house, things are still not going well for them. So she's bringing him a plate and she touches his arm. And at this point, I think she's just trying to antagonize him and just be, kind of a smart ass or whatever. Because he does not want to be bothered. And he takes that plate, slap, on the floor. And then he tells her, "Sit." Just like no respect. He's furious with her and for good reason. So he had been doing some figuring. Well, Picky had to have been conceived this at this time in December of this time and blah blah blah. And he's like, "I got these letters. You wrote me this on my tour of duty." And the letter says, "I saw your brother. He looks good. Made me miss you even more." And that sounds incriminating. And Richard says, "When I came back, my brother wouldn't even look at me." And Nancy doesn't say anything. So I'm not sure if it actually is the brother or someone else, but we'll see where this goes. So Victoria, she's still flirting with Sam, and she wants him to be her new detail leader because Yuma died. And she's still flirting with him, and he's like, "I'm married," um, and all of that. And she's not gonna stop. She's gonna persist and just keep going. And I'm like, "Sam, you just need to file a lawsuit on her, a sexual harassment lawsuit, because that's what she's doing. She's sexually harassing him." So back on the plane, Gail, she's trying to figure out how to get away from the grandmother. She's telling Jason, "Maybe we can blackmail Jean into driving us back. You should have seen that apartment of hers. It's so small." And I'm like, even if they were able to blackmail anybody into driving them back to the White House, I mean, what's to stop Victoria from sending him away again somewhere? I don't know what Gail's thinking was on that one. And Jason was so furious of that she was talking about Jean, and he's like, "Stop talking about. She's not gonna do it." And Gail's like, "Okay, whatever. I'm gonna go back to sleep and try to come up with another idea." And why anybody would sleep around this nutcase makes no sense. But Gail is like her grandmother. She doesn't mind, seem to think anything or closing her eyes around this guy. Um, but yeah, so Jason is crazy, and we're going to see him be crazy some more at the end. Now, Alan is not pleased with Ellie. He's like, this whole thing is wrong, and she's very much okay with it. So Donald comes in the office and excuse me, and he tells Alan, you know what, go home, it's after hours. And he's basically telling Ellie that she's in over her head, but she doesn't believe so. And he tells her, you should have been a basketball wife because all you can do is marry well. And she clapped back. She's like, isn't that what you did, marry well? And he couldn't say anything. He basically, his whole demeanor was like, shut up. People, when people get clapped back at or have no response, they're just like, oh, be quiet. Oh, shut up. That's how he was. And he tells her she needs some help with this job because she's clearly not qualified. They need somebody who can spin, and that person is Diane. And she's like, well, I don't want any help from her. I don't want any help from her. And he's like, you don't get any say in who helps you. And she's like, well, this is my office. And Donald's like, well, it's my office now. And basically boots her out. And then he calls Diane and tries to get her to come back. And she's like, no, I'm not coming back. And she's like, you better be careful what you say to me. As in, don't threaten her. And he's just like, he's furious. He's like, well, wait, no, okay, was that when, okay, I'm thinking of the next scene where he was angry at something else that Diane did. But anyway, Alan comes back and he tells Donald, well, Ellie and I have been dating for 2 years and we work together. And Donald's like, you know what, it's fine. And he tries to convince Alan that Donald and Ellie are not sleeping together, but we all know that's a lie because we saw it. Okay. So back at the cabin, Lily was sitting there. She had her gun. She heard somebody rustling at the door. She goes over there with the gun. It's Bobby. He's got Max, and he had like Max draped over his shoulder. Max looked like was just so limp. He looked like a huge stuffed animal or a doll or something. And Lily's like, what is going on? He's bleeding. And obviously Bobby had to whisk him out of the hospital quickly because he was at risk of being killed. And so they're going to have to tend to him there at the cabin. Now, Silly Barry is in jail again. And he's calling up Sharon saying, you need to get that money and go bail me out. The money under the dresser. And she's like, what are you talking about? And he's still assuming that it's her money. And I was getting confused because I thought it was revealed that money under the dresser was connected to Ruth, but I forgot that was talked about on Ruthless, not on the Oval. Okay. So she's like, okay, I'll go get it, but she still does not know what's going on. Let's get to Priscilla. So she's like, she's mad. And she's kicking Sam's clothes around and like, and just like, and then she lights up a cigarette and I'm like, okay, so she was like waiting to exhale the light version or the diet version because all she did was kick the clothes around a little bit. She didn't actually destroy them, or it didn't look like she had ruined them in any sort of way. And so Nancy comes over and she's like, I didn't have anywhere else to go. Richard wants me out the house. He won't even pay for Picky's funeral. And she asked Priscilla, well, can you lend me the money? And Priscilla's like, sure, how much is it? And Nancy's like, well, it's going to be about $8,000. Priscilla's like, sure, I'll make it 20. It's off of Sam's account. And at first Nancy's like, No, no, don't do that. And she's like, why not? I'm on Sam's count. Um, and then she ups it to $25,000, and she like, you know what, pay for the funeral, and whatever is left, go to the hotel. And Nancy knew not to take that money. She knew that Priscilla was clearly in a a an almost distraught state, of mind. She's not thinking clearly, and Nancy's like, "Whoa, knocking Priscilla," and I'm like, Nancy, you're wrong for taking that money. You could have only accepted the money for the funeral, and not an extra uh $17,000 that you do not need. Um, oh no, Nancy was wrong for that. She should not have taken that money. Now, Victoria, she wants to see Ellie. Wait. Okay. First, let me get Kyle and Donald out the way. And so Kyle went to the hospital, and he says, well, Max was gone. Diane had him moved. And Donald really hates Diane. He thinks that she is such a bitch. And when he said she was a bitch, it's like all this it's like he really wants to read her, but he doesn't have the skills to do it. So because when the way he said bitch was like he seems as crazy as Kyle. um so Victoria, like I was saying, Victoria wanted to see Ellie, and she's like basically telling her, you need to leave. And Ellie's like, and if I don't? And Victoria's like, then I will have your body cut up in little pieces and mailed to your mother. And then Hunter comes in and he tells Ellie to leave, and so she does. And Victoria's telling him, I can have my father clean up this whole mess. Because clearly your people are not handling it. And so she goes over there to Jason's room, and she's like, what is that smell? And so she calls housekeeping. There's a terrible odor. And she looks up on the bed, and she sees Jean. And I'm like, okay, at least somebody else found Jean, and we're just not left hanging with with just the maid knowing that Jean is dead. And Victoria she actually fell to the floor, and I'm like, okay, so Victoria is somewhat human. She yeah, seeing that dead body freaked her out. That would surprise me that she was really that freaked out, because usually she's just so cold and um cruel, and it's like, okay, so some things can freak her out, I guess. So so Jason, he tells the flight attendant again, my grandmother's cold. And so she, oh, okay, I'll bring her another blanket. And she tells him about the holding pattern again. And then this fool decides to open up the window. And we saw this in one of the promos, and I'm like, don't know how this is going to turn out, but that was the Oval. I can't wait to see what happens next. So I'm guessing that Hunter and Victoria are going to cover up Jean's death, and just like throw her somewhere and make out like it was a random crime. Of course, they're not gonna rat out their son for it. But yeah, that was the Oval. Tell me what you think, and I will see you the next time. Bye.